Welcome to another edition of the RL Show. I'm Joanna and today I'm with Daniel at the gorgeous Andara. Daniel, are you ready for your questions?
I am, certainly.
Okay, perfect. Let's get started. So Daniel, let's start with you. Where do you come from?
I was born in Switzerland on the countryside in a small village near Basel on the border to France.
Okay, and do you get back there often?
Yeah, we used
Before.
to go exactly before. We used to go there on a regular basis, of course, but this year obviously it's difficult because my parents are still there, we still live on the farm, but this year, of course, obviously there will be no visit back home, but hopefully next spring again.
And you miss it?
Yes, of course, especially because my parents are still there. That's the most important part, of course. But I've been in Asia for over 25 years, so I'm used to live in Asia, and I've got, good circle of friends and family around here. So from that point of view, but you still miss some European lifestyle things, of course.
And home.
Yes, that's exactly.
So why did you first come to Asia?
I guess growing up in Switzerland, and especially on the countryside, it was a bit small, we didn't have the chance to travel a lot, because we had a farm, so you really wanted to go and see the world. And of course then working in restaurants, working in hotels, that gave you a taste of the world. And then of course after the hotel school, it was an obvious choice that you want to go and explore the world and work somewhere. But it was never my plan at that time that I'm going to work in Asia for 20 years. I came for 1 month, I came for 3 months, and then suddenly it was a year or two, and of course I'm still here, obviously.
So 20 years later, you're still
yes,
here?
Yes, exactly, 20-something years later.
Okay. And have you always been in Thailand, or where have you been?
No, I came across first to Malaysia, that was my first posting, then after Malaysia I went to Burma, Myanmar. That was very interesting and also very difficult at those days. So I didn't go there very long, and then afterwards I went to Indonesia, and then I came to Phuket for the first time. Then I went to Shanghai, and then obviously I came back to Phuket about 8 years ago.
Okay, and you've been with Andara for how long?
8 years now.
Okay.
My 8th year already here.
Okay, so tell me a bit about Andara, the resort, and what it has to offer.
It's a very unique kind of thing. It's a home away from home, because as you see, this is now one of our villas, so
beautiful.
It's very, very spacious. So this is a 5 or 6 bedroom villa, so you have over 2,500 square meters. You have your own private chef, your own private attendant, but also the suite, the hotel rooms are very spacious. The smallest hotel room is 150 square meters. There's 2 bedrooms, there's 3 bedrooms, there's 4 bedrooms. So it's really ideal for families. It's ideal for friends traveling together, because you have a lot of space. And because the number of the rooms we have on villas are not so huge, we can also be very personal. We get to know our guests, and I think that's what a lot of people come back for.
I think that's very important, and that's what a lot of resorts are missing.
Especially nowadays, of course, yes, with the new normal we are going to face, or we are facing already, that has definitely changed. So maybe hotels with 500 rooms is maybe a little bit harder, but more individual places where you have more private space also is, of course, a great thing to have. The restaurant, the pool, there's a lot of space, it never gets overcrowded, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's, of course, now also a very safe thing.
Yes. So we're in this absolutely gorgeous villa. This is a 6-bedroom.
Yes, this is a 6-bedroom.
So what can people do here if they come and stay?
Of course, a lot of people, if they check in here for 2-3 days, they actually hardly leave, because you have such a beautiful space. You have amazing views over the Kamala Bay.
Yeah.
Then you have your own private chef that looks after you. You can have breakfast in bed, you can have breakfast by the pool, or you can make a big breakfast table out in the sala. So it's all up to the mood of the guest, But because there's so many areas you can hang out, you don't feel like you need to go anywhere. And especially now, it's a perfect place to come for a little staycation. If you are back home in Rawai or in Chalong or so, if you have a birthday weekend, come and stay here for a night. You can have a smaller suite with 3 or 4 bedrooms, have a nice dinner with your friends, and enjoy the next day, and you drive back home the next evening. And the same thing in the suite, but here you just have a bit more space. Here the pool is 20 meters. Whereas in the suite, the pool is only 8 or 10 or 12 meter, depending on the size of the suite, but you have a lot of space everywhere, and it can be very personal, and it's the perfect getaway right now, you know, if you want to avoid some of the crowds, you know. You have a little birthday celebration or a little special weekend coming up, it's a perfect place for a staycation with great offers, of course, at the moment.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the fact that we are here and we're not traveling, you know, we can come and do something a bit special like this. This is a perfect thing to come and do, especially, you know, for a birthday or just for, you know, just an excuse.
A good
just
excuse.
Because it's
yes,
October.
We need to have a little treat once in a while, especially nowadays. And of course, because of the seasons, of course, and because of the circumstances, our rates, of course, are very friendly. They have very much changed in the last 6 months, and so it's a great opportunity to go to places we normally wouldn't go, you know. And that's not only here in Phuket, but of course in other provinces in Thailand as well. But sometimes we don't have the time to go that far, so then it's a perfect excuse for a little mini holiday.
Yes, I think so, and I think everyone's looking at that sort of thing at the moment.
Yeah, of course, because it's
treat.
important to you know, stay positive and stay motivated, and those little things help. This little treat that makes a very big difference.
So, if people were staying here and they wanted to go out for dinner, can you tell me about the restaurants? Yeah.
Of course, you know, first of all, of course, we have our beautiful restaurant at the resort, the Silk, that has been, you know, known in Phuket for over 16, 17 years. You know, when it first started at the Plaza Surin, Silk was there for the first 5 years, and only when we opened the resort 10 years ago, Silk moved into the resort, you know, so it's always been well known for its wonderful Thai cuisine with a little bit of a modern twist, but still staying true to the roots. Now we also do more really local Phuket food, you know, because especially for our guests from Bangkok, you know, to go back to the very traditional foods, the mu hong and the crab curries and all the things that Phuket cuisine is famous for. But we also, of course, have some Western dishes. We have a lovely poolside menu where you can have a great burger or a good club sandwich. So, you know, more comfort food. You know, we are not trying to reinvent the wheel with fancy 7-course dinners, but very hearty, comfortable food.
Something for everyone.
Exactly. But also, of course, yes, you're very central here, and that's one of the nice things about the resort. We are up on this hillside in the beginning of the Millionaire Smile. But it's very easy to walk down to the beach. You know, the school is 1 minute away, and then the beach starts, and so you can go for great morning walks in the beach. It's great jogging on Kamala Beach. It's 2 kilometers long, it's 4 kilometers coming back, so it's a great way to exercise. And of course, we have small little restaurants in Kamala itself. You know, you can go for a local roti breakfast, you know, which is great here with our community. Or otherwise, of course, you can go along the beach. There's 2 or 3 little restaurants who serve nice local seafood, so you can have both of that. And if you want it more fancy, you just go across the hill over to Kalim. You know, there's Aqua, of course, is a mainstay. It's a great neighbor to have, so there are places nearby.
Yeah, it's a great location because you are
very central. Yeah. If you
Central.
want to, you know, go and play golf, it's not far. If you want to go to Phuket town to shop, it's not far. So it's very easy accessible. That's the great thing about Kamala, because we are right in the center.
So as you've been here so long, I want to pick your brain and ask, well, where do you go to relax, or a secret spot in Phuket or something? Tell us something.
Of course, Phuket still offers secret spots, but luckily also Phuket is very close to nearby area. You can drive up to Natai Beach, you can drive up to Khao Lak, or I like to go across to Krabi, for example. Riley Beach is a beautiful spot, you know, the Riley Beach Club, you know. It's a lovely little retreat, you know, it's not too far away. You can drive there, but of course the best thing is to take a little boat, which is a beautiful ride away, and every time you go out to Phang Nga Bay, it's so beautiful again and so different. So that's definitely one of my favorite treats on a weekend off. So
what brought you into hospitality?
Oh, I guess I would have to go back to my grandmother, because my grandmother had a little restaurant and a farm, you know, at the same time, you know. And so always on school holidays, especially in springtime and in autumn time, because it was in the eastern part of Switzerland, I went for holidays. So of course, and I rather helped out in the restaurant than on the farm, you know. And so I was always the one who was serving the guests and helping to clean the tables and prepare things in the kitchen. So I think that's what I got into it, you know. But then first I went into a commercial apprenticeship, working in an office for 3-4 years, but then it felt a little bit too boring, you know. So I thought, okay, maybe I have to have something a bit more lively, a bit more interactive. So that's how I chose then to go to the Swiss Hotel Management School. And that's of course where my calling then really started.
So you started young.
Yes, of course, that's the thing in Switzerland. It's often you work and you study at the same time, so you work for 6 months and then you study for 6 months. But yeah, of course, when I was my grandmother, I was 8, 9 years old when I was taking orders and all these things. So, and helping out on a Sunday when it got busy or on a Saturday, I love to do that.
And you mentioned your grandmother's farm. What type of farm was it?
Oh, it was a very typical small mix farm because it's quite up in the hills or in the mountains. So you have a few cows, a few pigs, and you slaughter the pigs in the autumn and all these things. So it's a very farm to table it's now so fashionable, and that's what they live there all the way. That was where it all comes from.
Yeah, it's a very traditional concept, but it's become very trendy now.
Exactly. That we didn't know anything else at that time. I think even at home, I grew up on a farm. We hardly went shopping when I was 8 or 10 years old. Everything was from the farm. You sterilize your fruits, your vegetables from the summer in the winter. So that was all you had.
Can you tell me what you think about the future for Phuket and the future for Andara?
Yeah, of course, it's a very, you can call it interesting, you can call it challenging time right now because obviously we are going through a lot of changes with this effect that COVID has across all the world. I hope, of course, it will have a very good impact in the long run, but of course it will take a year or two because we know, sadly, in the past 3, 4, 5 years, some things maybe were not handled very in the best possible way in Phuket, and we have a certain way of over tourism, too many people traveling, too many people arriving, and so it got a bit congested in some parts. So I think this will hopefully help in the future to find the right target market, to aim for the right kind of tourism, and not trying to go again with more and more higher numbers, but look at the quality of the tourism, not only about the quantity and the number of the tourists.
So as a GM, can you tell me how you are keeping your staff motivated and engaged at the moment?
Yes, of course, this has obviously, it's always not a challenge, but this is always a very important task for all of us, together with our department heads, and it just shows how important teamwork it is. Especially right now when everybody is unchallenged under these difficult circumstances. So it's even more important that you work together and that you talk together with all your team members, to make them part that you're working through this together, because we are not alone in this. Because sometimes it's hard, because every month something is changing and something you thought is going to happen is not happening. So of course the situation will continue for a while. So it's really important and to stay positive and get some ideas going, get some motivation going, think out of the box in order to keep it going, because to relaunch is not easy, because you were closed for 3, 4 months and then you have to start again. And of course, everybody is on reduced working hours. And so all that, of course, adds to the issue. But luckily, our team, we have a few key players been here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, so that helps because one knows each other better and we can pull together, and that works in many good ways, But yes, of course, it has been definitely a difficult time.
You mentioned keeping positive and teamwork, and I think that's really key at the moment, is just to keep positive and keep things, feeling very positive for people.
Yes, exactly. Do activities together, like, we do the beach cleaning every 10 days or every week, so that you do things that are different, We were painting things in the back of the house together, painting the canteen, and do it all together, not just hiring the engineering team to do it, Everybody from the different department comes together and does this kind of things,
Everyone getting involved together.
Exactly. The common area of the gardens, we pull together once a week, every time there's 10, 15 different people, so the chef becomes a gardener, the accountant becomes a gardener, and all that helps, to work together because we want to see this through together and be positive about it, and that helps a lot, because
that's a great
when
idea.
when you sit in the office for too long, it can get to you, so it's important to get out there and actually do something together, and I think that's a great thing to do.
I think that's brilliant, and you say, getting everyone involved in areas that they're not normally doing.
Exactly.
That's brilliant because it does get people outside of the routine, which
That's
can become
exactly
difficult.
right. That's exactly right.
And finding people's hidden talents. You might find a great new gardener.
Of course, because during the week we don't have many guests at the moment. It's difficult to fill up the hotel on a Monday or Tuesday, so you have to stay motivated, of course, and that like this we can do that.
As you've been in Phuket for such a long time, I'm going to ask you to pretend for a moment. So, you've lived on this island, but can you pretend for a moment that you're living on a desert island and all your food and drink is taken care of, but what 2 items would you want with you?
Beside the food and drink? Oh, what 2 items? Items or?
Anything.
Of course, my dog would have to come along first.
Who's your dog?
Dolly.
I've heard about Dolly. Okay, tell me.
She's a golden retriever. She's just turned 3 years old last month.
She's a puppy still.
Oh, a young teenager, a naughty teenager.
Okay, so you've got naughty Dolly on the island.
Yes.
And what else is coming with you?
Oh, now that's an interesting question. I think I need a bit of time to think about that.
Not a boat to get off, maybe?
A boat to get off, that's a good idea. Yes, exactly. I leave that open for now.
So tell me, if you could have one adventure that you've had in your life all over again, which one would it be?
Oh, I guess it would have to be, we had a wonderful trip a few years back where I was fortunate enough with good friends to explore the Lofoten Island and Spitsbergen. It was a great trip in summer, of course, but of course you're in the pack ice all the time. We were on this amazing boat where we went all around Lofoten, met many polar bears along the way, and it was just amazing, to be so close to nature and being in the pack ice and, pick up your ice, vodka on the rocks, really from the rocks, and
Wow.
so it was a really amazing experience, yes.
Yeah.
For 10 days, in the pure nature, yes. Amazing, yes.
You really got back to nature.
Oh, totally, and with a very small number of friends, and so it was really special, yeah. And such a beautiful thing to see the polar bears and the walruses, all these animals in the wilderness, of course, in that habitat was just amazing, yeah. And so playful and so beautiful. But at the same time, when you watch the news now, you see what a hard life those guys have, because how much more the global warming affects their life, and they're getting more and more difficult to survive every year. And this is really sad to see that we really have to do something about that, the whole world and not just some parts of the world.
And I think you've been able to experience that, which many people won't be able to going forward, as you said,
of course,
because things are changing so much.
Exactly.
So that's an amazing experience that you can always
Very,
have.
very true, yeah. That's something that you treasure all your life, yeah, exactly. Or like, climbing up to a Swiss mountaintop with a few friends, that's also something very special, because you're in pure nature and, it's the hard work you put in and all the things, and it's very rewarding, of course, and beautiful scenery.
So with Switzerland and Phuket, obviously very, very different. What parts of Switzerland do you kind of keep with you and carry on here?
I guess because we live on the island here, we're so close to the sea, which of course is beautiful, but it's definitely the mountains that you miss, It's the winter, of course, sometimes you miss, or just the season itself, You look forward from spring to summer, from summer to autumn, when the autumn leaves are falling, all those things are, so nice and so special, and that's what you sometimes miss because you're out in the tropics, And of course, the food, sometimes you miss, your grandmother's food that you miss sometimes. But luckily, there's some good Swiss or German or Austrian restaurants also here in Phuket. So that brings you a bit closer to home. So you're not too far away from it.
So when you're not here at the resort, what hobbies do you like to do?
Of course, I think it's just to have a bit of a fresh air, going for walks. Of course, my dog keeps a lot of that time, because it's lovely. We are very fortunate here on this beautiful Kamala beach to walk up and down, But sometimes it's also nice to go up on the hills, So up in the palm tree plantations, so that's a beautiful spot. You want to get away from your daily life a little bit, And otherwise, you find me reading books, Love to read a good books, More actually than movies, because
What type of books?
Oh, all kind of books a little bit. You know, I'm not very fussy. You know, here of course you often get a book from your friend. You know, he's read it, you pass it on, and all these things. So there's a mixture of things. You know, and that's what I like. You know, it's not just one direction in books that I like to read. You know. Because here in Phuket, of course, in terms of things, there's not so many things to do, and of course that's what you do, and especially when you work in hotels, you often work, you know, long hours or many days, and then you try to go away for 2-3 days, and then of course the traveling things, that's very much part of my hobby, you know, to go and check out a new hotel, to look at a different place, you know. And of course, before we used to go to Bangkok once every 2 months, or you go to Hong Kong, where our head office is from the Lang Kwai Fong group, you know, so you go to Hong Kong more often. But now, of course, you are more here, and so it gives you time to visit places you normally never been, you know. Last month we went to Pai for the first time in the north of Thailand, so that's a great opportunity, despite, you know, all the surroundings at the moment.
So I know that you don't have a tattoo, but if you were forced to get a tattoo, what would you get?
Oh, I think it was me more of a geometrical one or something, you know, not a skull or a snake or something like that, you know, something more architectural, I would say. Or otherwise, of course, it would be something more in the Thai beliefs, you know, a more protective tattoo, you know, you find very much in Thailand, of course, from the old tradition, you know. That's something, you know, one I would also consider maybe one day, but I'm not the biggest fan of tattoos, so I haven't really thought about it very hard.
Well, it seemed like you had. I thought you were maybe planning on.
I had much more friends telling me I should think about it.
Can you tell us something that not many people would know?
Oh, that not many people know. Yeah, I guess not many people would think that I grew up on a farm, you know, that I, you know, enjoyed growing up a farm. And the last 10 or 15 years or so, each summer for 2-3 weeks, I go back home, spend the summer on the farm, pick cherries with my parents or with my sister, you know. So that I really miss a little bit. I didn't want it, you know, when I was 20, 25 years old, I was kind of going away from it. But when you then go a bit older, when you grow older, you realize, oh, actually it was all very much part of my upbringing, and I really enjoy that. And this year I really missed not being able to go back home and pick cherries for 2 weeks, because that was my best R&R every year, you know, because you're really out in the nature and you do something productive, and of course something that's also very a lot of sense, because your whole family is there, and so it was a perfect way to spend the summer holidays.
And cherries are gorgeous.
And cherries are a fabulous fruit, yes. That's
What
true.
do you do with them?
Of course, we sell them. Most of it we sell, but otherwise, of course, my mom makes lots of things in the kitchen, you know, cherry pies, of course, and the jam. My father, you know, ferments it and then distills it in the winter. We make our own cherry schnapps, you know, which we, of course you need for your fondue in the winter time. So yeah, my father still does that himself every year.
Lovely. So
Yeah.
you do use them.
Oh yes, definitely. There's not much wasted about it. Definitely not.
Wonderful. Daniel, if you could give advice to your 21-year-old self, what would it be?
Oh, if I would. I think it sounds so cliche, but it's definitely a bit, it's always important to really follow your heart, you know. If you are, you know, not happy or content, you know, then if your heart tells you something else, you should really take the jump and do it, you know, because otherwise you waste valuable time and sometimes valuable years, you know. So sometimes it's hard to move forward, you know, like especially for us, like as expats, you know, we live here for so long, we live there for so long, and sometimes, you know, it's time to move, you know, and sometimes it's good to start anew, but as long as we enjoy every day when we get up, you know, I think it's important that we also follow that and that we stay true to that.
It's good advice.
Oh, thank you, old man.
And have you got a favorite singer or band?
Oh, there's a few over the years, of course, you know, from my early disco days, of course, we still love to listen to ABBA, you know, that's still a classic, you know, it's such a happy and positive music. And Lately, I do really enjoy, also lately, the last 3-4 years, she has been a bit quiet. The last 2-3 years is Adele. You know, I think I really enjoyed, especially her first album. Her second album was fantastic, you know, because and I also was lucky enough, thanks to a dear friend, to be able to see her live in Wembley about 4 years ago, and she was an amazing performer because she just sings from the heart, you know, and she comes from, you know, simple upbringing, and she stands for it, and that's what her songs are about. I think I really like Adele a lot.
Yeah, Adele's meant to be fantastic in concert.
Yes, exactly.
I haven't seen her, but I've heard.
No,
she's
it was amazing,
one of
and you know, 2 hours non-stop singing. You know, no big backup dancers and no 20 costume changes. Just her and singing.
It's not needed.
No, exactly, not needed. It was just so fabulous. Yeah, it was really very special. Great memory as well.
So Daniel, thank you very much for your time today. It's been really great talking to you and being in such a beautiful surrounding as well. If you would like to know anything more about Daniel or about the Andara Resort, please click the links below. And if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Our pleasure. It's great to have you here today, and see you around at Andara and at Silk soon. Thank you very much.